welcome to my kitchen today. There will be no cooking, but there is actually this video which is like a response video to some comments that I've been having on, I think it was 2 years ago when I did my wool tail video. Basically it was how to make a tail out of wool. The one that I did at the time was for a snow leopard cosplay thing that I decided to do. I've had a lot of questions recently about it. And I'm just going to try and address some of those questions. If you have any more, please leave comments down below and I'll try and get back to you about it. But yeah, today's video is just showing you really the basics of the tail, so like the spine. I have been asked how many strands I use in each of the braids. It's really dependent on how big you want your tail to be. So I think in my first one I used about 10 maybe in each. They were quite thick. When you have braided it, you can pull it apart a little bit just to puff it out. Remember though, you'll be tying your fluffs on, so that will just sort of squeeze it back in. So just try and keep all this in mind. It's very easy to do, but you have to keep in mind like what you want to achieve. So you kind of have to work with guessing a lot of time. That's what I did when I did mine. I pretty much guessed a lot of it. So yeah, I used about 10 strands in each of the braids. One that I did for Halloween last year, which I haven't shown any of you, it's in the attic at the moment, was a much shorter tail. It had a white tip to it and it was black. That one I used about 6 strands in each of the braids. So strand wise, you know, it just depends on how big you want the tail to be. So obviously my original tail was quite chunky. There was a lot of fluffs involved in that, and it was a thicker spine that I created. The next one was about this big, a little less chunkier, and it was a lot more flexible because it was also a lot shorter. So I'm going to just go through how to make the spine and what I used to make the spine in the first one. So hopefully this makes some sense for you. Like I said, leave a comment below if I haven't addressed anything that you would like some help with. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is how I go about measuring, for example, like a shorter tail. So I always have one of my craft boards with me when I'm doing this, just to protect my table from anything, especially when you're doing the brushing of the fluffs. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically measure out a nice short tail. So just taking the end of my wool, measure it to about there, and snip that one off. So it's really easy to measure it. Just measure it to whatever length you feel is best. If you have to stand up and drop the wool from where you want the tail to start to where you want it to finish, that is a really good idea. I did that when I did my snow leopard one. So stand there with one piece of wool going from where you want it to start and where you want it to finish, okay? And then, so if that's the wool, so if that's my coccyx where I want it to start, and this is maybe to my ankles where I want it to finish, that's how I would measure it. And then I would double it again, because when you come to tie the loop at the top, you'll have to have them fall over. So I'll show you that right now. So I've already done some previously. So I've got these ones here. I've got 2 grey, 2 black and 2 white to show you the braiding and everything as well. So you want them all to be at the same length. So let's just imagine that these are going from the coccyx to about the ankles. It's going to be a really long tail, so we'll just imagine that that's the length that they are. So we've measured them out. We've then doubled it over and then cut it, so it's like double the length that we want. You then put them together. Try and keep them as lined up as possible. You then pick them all up in one go. And then you hang them over so they are all at the same length. Let me just change the camera angle so hopefully you can get a better view of that, okay? Okay, so we've taken our wool. So this is the basics of the spine. And we've got them in one long length. So what we do is we find about the middle and we Just let it drape over there. Okay, so you're going to have a nice even length both sides. I hope you can see this. You're then going to take the top and you're just basically going to make a knot. So this is going to be difficult. I'm not very good at showing things like this. So my fingers through here. So you wrap it around your 2 fingers. And then you literally just, don't lose this loop, whatever you do. You push it all through that loop there. I hope you can see that. It's difficult when you're working with more than one piece of wool or string. There you go, do you see that? Oh, you can see my flowers really well. There we go, see? So, you've created this little knot. And then what I do is I pull it tightly a little bit and then I just push it up a little bit. Because you don't want a massive, great big loop at the top. The loop at the top is purely for when you get one of those metal hooks that you then latch through and then you can hook onto a belt or your costume or anything like that. So pull that really tightly. Okay. So pull that really tightly. Another tip as well for this loop is I actually get a piece of elastic, quite a thick piece of elastic, and I push the elastic through that loop and then I sew that together, because over time this could wear and tear through. It is only wool after all, so the more this sort of thing happens, it could wear and tear. So the elastic will then go through here. You then sew that together to make another loop, which is why this needs to be as small as possible, and then you actually attach your metal clip through that, which gives it some spring. So should this get trapped or anything, it's going to have some spring there, it can pull, it's not going to damage this in any way. So that's just like another little tip as well. But yeah, so that is how you make the loop in the top. I really hope that's made sense. I'm aware that maybe you didn't see it fully, but it literally is just a case of, I'll just get another piece of wool to show. Okay, so literally it's just a case of, really hope you can see this. You know when you just make a knot and you just push it through, it purely is just an ordinary knot like that. Just an ordinary knot, that's all you do. That is literally it. It is difficult the more strands you have, but that is literally all you do. Now for the braiding side, this is why I've got different colours to show you. So let me swing you back around and I'll show you the braiding side. Okay, so I'm now going to show you the braiding side of it. Another thing that you will need is something heavy. So when braiding, obviously, braiding it like this is going to be really difficult. You've got your loop at the top there. Just grab something heavy and make sure that that is on the loop, not on the actual knot itself, just on the loop. That will hold it down in place. So, to braid it, nice and easy. See how we now have effectively more strands than what we started. So originally you just had 2 of each, now we have 4 of each, which just puffs it up a little bit, makes it a little bit thicker. So remember, if you make 10 strands like we had originally, when I said that I did 10 in the first one, when you double it over and do this, you'll end up with 20 of each. So just keep that in mind. So just detangle that. Okay, so now we're going to braid it really simply. You just braid it as you would braid anything. Okay, so you can see that nice and easy with the colours. When you get to the bottom here, this is a super short tail that I'm showing you on, but when you get to the bottom here, you just need to do the same kind of knot that we did earlier. I have to take it all the way up here because it's so short now. And you just literally push it all through. So you just do exactly the same knot at the bottom that you do at the top. Now, a big tip that I've got as well is with this bit here on the end. If you've gone and done something multicolour like this, but the tip was going to be one colour, things like that, it's going to be a bit tricky. So what I did on my snow leopard tail, I used grey wool for the spine because I had a lot of it, and then I had to actually do all the fluffs black individually and sew them into the base. Now that does make it nice and poofy, but it is a lot more time consuming. So what I would suggest to do is, if you are having a particular tip colour, white, grey, pink, purple, whatever the colour is, do the spine in the colour you want the tip to be, because then when it does this, you can actually fluff it out and it will be already that colour. So if I wanted a white tip on the tail, I would do the spine in white, fluff out the white base, and then the fluffs in white I can then add around it to make it a bit thicker. It just works out a lot quicker, and it's a lot easier to do it that way. If you don't do that, then you will have to make a load of fluffs and then sew them on individually. And I would suggest as well cutting this end bit off if that is what it comes to. So if we've done a multicoloured spine like this, but I want it to be a grey tip, I would have to cut that off, and I'd have to sew individually through this section here a load of grey fluffs. It is a lot more time consuming to do it that way. So I would always suggest do the spine in the colour that you'd want your tip to be. So if you want to be multicoloured, not a big deal, but yeah, if you want your tip to be a certain colour, do the whole spine in that colour. The next thing I'm going to just point out to you is the use of wire. So what I did on my big tail, because a snow leopard tail, I would really recommend as well researching the tail type that you want. Snow leopard tails don't just hang and drag, they actually fall, and they always have like a slight curve at the bottom of the tip of the tail, making it like look nice and big and puffy. So I went to Hobbycraft and I picked up some wire. This is really thick wire. And it isn't the easiest wire to bend. I mean, I could do it without pliers and things, but once it's bent, you can't really bend it back, so it makes it a little bit tricky. But what I did with mine, just to give it that curve, to give it more shape, to make it a bit more stable, that sort of thing, if you don't want a tail that's just fluffy and hangs, I would get some wire. Now what I did was I made the spine, and then with the wire, I pushed it up through. I pushed up through the bottom knot there, and I sort of wove it like that through the rest of the tail. So let me just get it through the spine here. Okay, so be really careful because wire can be really sharp. So I literally just pushed it up through. Now I didn't push it the whole way through like I'm doing with this one. I actually pushed it on the snow leopard tail I pushed it to about just over halfway, so the tail hung nicely, and then it started to get some more structure to it, and then I bent it up at the end. So then this gives you that flexibility of the tail, so you can really bend it to whatever shape you want. Having said that, as you're walking around, the tail will tend to have a mind of its own, and it will sometimes wonk about. So just be aware that the tail will not sit perfectly like this the whole time against your back. As you walk, your tail will twist and turn, so you might have to readjust it every now and again. But yeah, it's definitely advisable to get some wire and just play about with it. So again, before you start putting fluffs on, make the spine, play about with some wire, see if you want the wire in there or not, see how you feel about it, and then if you do, put the wire in and then start adding the fluffs to it. Once the wire is in there, you will not be able to get it out. And also, do not add fluffs to it and then put the wire in. That is going to be really difficult. You'll more than likely push the wire through and it'll come out the other end, and you have to try and get it back in, and you might see wire through the tail, so you don't want that. So always make your spine first, then put the wire in, then add your fluffs, and then just go and have a really good time and have some fun with it. So okay, so that's pretty much it for the tail revisit, I guess you could call it, I don't know. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the hints and tips I can think of right now that I don't think I covered in the first video. And if you have any more questions, please leave a comment down below, and I will try and get back to you about it. It seems to be the time of year where people are making tails. I don't know why, but they are really fun. I have only ever made two. One was the snow leopard one that you've seen previously. The second one I have not shown you, but I really wish I did, because I think it's even better than the first one, or actually it's not better. The first one took me like 6 months to make. The second one took me about 2 months to make, and I just love them both actually. I don't think I'd ever really want to get rid of them because it's so much work and effort you put into them. There is one that I really want to make, but I would never wear it. I really am inspired to make a rainbow dash tail. I would love to make a rainbow dash tail. I've already got in my head like how I would do it and what it would look like, and oh, I would love to do that. I would love to do like the My Little Pony tails. I would just like to do a little collection of them. That would be so fun. But once I've done them and made them, I don't know, I wouldn't use them. So yeah, it's difficult. Like, I would probably look into maybe selling them, but it's like, it's a load of wool at the end of the day. Who would buy a tail that I made? But yeah, I don't know, I'm quite inspired to maybe do that. Go get some more wool and just make some My Little Pony tails. Like, the whole collection would be so fun. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any more questions, again, leave a comment below and I'll try and get back to you. And hopefully I've covered all the questions that people have asked me, and any questions that people haven't thought to ask me. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. So thank you so much for all of your questions, and I will catch you next time. Thank you very much. Bye bye.